So now that the iPhone 15 was just announced, you probably noticed there isn't a huge upgrade for the base model when you compare it to the iPhone 14. In fact, if you go back and compare the iPhone 13 to the new iPhone 15, it's sort of mind-boggling how close these are, even with 2 years apart. Really, there's only a couple small differences, and one of those differences would make me choose the iPhone 13 over the 15. Now, the base model of the iPhone 15 is $799 in the United States. The iPhone 13 is only $599, so you can save $200. Now, of course, there are going to be trade-in deals, mainly if you have older iPhones. Not so great if you have Android, but this is more if you're going to buy the iPhone outright, unlocked from Apple's website, so you can take it to any carrier. Both the iPhone 13 and 15 start with the same 128 gigabytes of storage. One advantage with the iPhone 13, it's one of the last iPhones that accepts a physical SIM card, where the newer iPhone 14 and 15 only use eSIM, which can be a problem for some out there, depending on which carrier you're using. Or if you like to switch phones every now and then without contacting your carrier, it's quite a bit easier to just pop out the SIM card from the iPhone and then just use that for your new phone. As far as the display goes, you get the same 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. Both are 60 Hz refresh rate, and they've got basically the same resolution and 460 DPI. So not really much of an upgrade at all when it comes to the display. Now when it comes to the battery, looks like there's a slight increase in battery size from 3240 milliamp hours up to 3877 on the new iPhone 15. But I can't imagine it's going to be that much of an improvement considering there's only minimal changes with everything else. You'll also have pretty much the same software, considering even the iPhone XR or XR is going to get iOS 17. Now you're not going to get the new dynamic island on the 13. You've still got the notch. So sort of personal preference there. You're also not going to get the customizable new switch button that's there on the side. And then not a huge surprise here, but everything else is going to feel almost identical between the two phones as far as software goes. One advantage you get with the iPhone 15 is you've got the USB-C port now instead of Lightning port, but it's not going to be the faster USB-C 3 like on the Pro models, so it's still going to have the same speed as the Lightning port, unfortunately. Both phones are also IP68, splash, water, and dust resistant. Now, of course, how many years of software updates you're going to get on the 15 is going to be better than the 13, but to be honest, I don't know if there's that many people out there using their iPhone until it's not supported anymore. But again, just something to keep in mind. The interesting thing about performance, even though the iPhone 15 is 2 years newer, you're only going from the A15 Bionic chip up to the A16 Bionic chip in the base model. So to me, it's not going to be a big enough difference in power or performance to upgrade for that alone. Sort of the same thing with gaming. I don't think you're going to see a big enough difference or improvement in gaming performance on the iPhone 15 versus the 13 to say, oh, I need to upgrade to the newer iPhone. As far as I can tell, it looks like they're using the same speakers in the iPhone 13 versus the 15. They don't really mention much about it, so I'm guessing they're pretty much the same. Cameras are going to be one area where there's a nice upgrade from the 13, at least from what I can tell in the specs. You go from 12 megapixels up to 48 for the main lens, and then you have the same 12 megapixel ultra wide lens on the back of both phones. Nice thing is, on the iPhone 15, it's going to go into portrait mode automatically or give you enough resolution where you can add the blur effect to your photos later on if you want them to have the blurred background. Not a huge deal to me since I've had that on Android for a while, but still a nice feature to have. Also keep in mind, you may be able to do that with the iPhone 13 after the iOS 17 update. Also keep in mind, sometimes they bring the newer features like that to the older iPhones after a while, so that could be one that goes to the iPhone 13 once it's been updated to iOS 17. And then of course you'll be able to shoot up to 4K 60 frames per second for a video recording on both iPhones. But as you can see, the iPhone 13 is going to be a lot closer than you would think when you compare it to the base model iPhone 15. So if you have an older iPhone and you'd rather save that extra money to use on something else, I feel like you can't go wrong choosing the iPhone 13 in 2023 after the price has been reduced. So if you've made it this far into the video, you may want to say thanks by subscribing watching, and don't forget to give a thumbs up if this video was helpful. This is Brian from Fishbee Productions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.